All right, welcome back to the show. The Olympics are over, folks, and they taught us a lot about mental toughness. Here now with a communication and training specialist. I call you a high performance coach. I think it's a better title because you're really about trying. I do too. You're about trying to get people to perform at high levels, whether they're giving presentations, going for job interviews, sales pitches. You want folks to perform at a very high level, and you're saying that the Olympics can teach us a whole lot about concentration and focus. How so?
Well, actually, there's three ways. One, teach you how to be mentally tough and have the right attitude.
Right.
Second is to be able to concentrate. And third is to visualize success.
And by the way, you are Roberta Prescott. I don't think I gave you your name, so
I'll take
that's
it now.
That's who you are.
Thank you. Okay,
So
if we start with having the right attitude,
right.
that really says you are driven, absolutely driven to succeed. I mean, just think of looking at those 5 young women from the gymnasts. No wonder they call them the Fierce 5. That's something they absolutely wanted to do. And what I tell our clients is, in terms of attitude, is think of this mantra. The mantra is, this may be tough, but I'm tougher.
Why does that work? And how do you convince yourself that you are tougher?
Well, because, first of all, you have a good game plan. You are game ready. Or, for example, Usain Bolt, right? His game plan was, I want to become a legend. That's what he said.
Right.
Or Michael Phelps wanted to go past those 18 gold.
Right.
Well, in a business situation, if you really want to have a game plan, what's your strategy? What are the goals that you have set for yourself? For example, very often, we do so many business kinds of presentations, and they go into a meeting, let's say with 15 high-level executives, and they say, well, I want to tell them how I make this widget. I said, no, you really don't. What you really want to tell them is, what action do you want as a result of what you are going to be talking about? So if they have that in their mind as to how they can become really game ready, they're going to give a much better presentation. You
talked about Usain Bolt, the 100-meter sprint champion, and you mentioned how he's a living legend, and he's got to tell himself that. Do you have to have a certain arrogance? Some people see him as great as he is. Well, he does, right? Some people,
he comes across as arrogant.
He does, but do you have to have a certain arrogance? When you're a top performer, do you need that arrogance? When you're in that boardroom with 15 other high performers, you're giving a presentation, selling them, is there a certain level of arrogance that we're talking about?
I would call it being an optimist and being self-confident. And, you know, I was just reading the young woman, what's her name, Kimberly Road, who won the skeet shooting contest. And she went to Colorado for her training, and they said to everybody, write down what you think you're not good at. And she didn't write anything. So they said, well, how come you didn't write anything? And she said, because I don't think there's anything I can't do if I put my mind to it.
Right.
Now, I don't know, would you call that arrogance or confidence? It depends on how you're looking at it, right?
You know, and arrogance is not necessarily a bad thing. I think sometimes we put a bad term, arrogance. It's not necessarily a bad thing. I think arrogance can be seen as confidence.
Absolutely.
It's a fine line, but I think you have to sometimes have a shade of arrogance to kind of get what you want sometimes.
Definitely. And just think of it, when they are practicing, or what we would call in business presentations, rehearsing.
Right.
When they're doing that, if you do it enough times so that time stands still for you, and then that allows you to become concentrated. So I had my first mantra was, this may be tough, but I'm tougher. The next mantra is, I'm in the zone. And we talked about what's happening.
Athletes, Michael Phelps, the Olympics, Usain Bolt, we talk about being in that zone. Talking to yourself, self-talk is very important. To get yourself in that zone, what I'm hearing you say is a lot of self-positive talk is very important to get you there, whether you're swimming or running. If you've got to kind of convince yourself where you want to be, right? And that,
absolutely, that's the optimistic
part. Because a lot of folks talk to themselves in a very negative way, too. The flip side is, if you don't talk to yourself in the right way, it can be as debilitating as it can be successful in talking to yourself the right way.
Well, that's why, you know, the next piece that I was going to tell you about was visualizing success. So often, people have the wrong attitude. They don't have that tough mental toughness, and they think things like, what if I can't answer the questions that they're going to ask me? What if I let down my manager and I'm not going to say the things I needed to say? So that's all that negative talk, the what-if talk.
So how do you flip that? If they came to you and you saw a person who was apprehensive and focusing on the negative, what if I don't, what would you say to them?
Well, first of all, you have to be prepared. Really have to know exactly what you're doing. So, for example, if you're giving a tough presentation and you know that you're going to get a lot of sweat questions or challenging questions, find out what they are,
right.
first of all, and go around and ask if you have to. And then I have so many clients who said to me, well, I thought of all the questions, but I forgot to think of the answers. So the next thing they have to do is to think of how they would answer them succinctly. Don't give your presentation all over again. And at the same time, make sure that it is right to the point and is answered what's on the mind of the person who's asking you the question.
What I hear you saying, really, you have to really work at this. Confidence and being self-assured is not necessarily natural. You've got to kind of work and practice at this the way the athletes do, which is why I use the Olympic analogy.
Absolutely.
You have to continue to practice so that you can make your mistakes while you're practicing and not when the bullets are flying, so to speak.
It sounds like you don't need my services.
No, I'm fascinated by this. I think a lot of what you're saying is bad. I'm sure people who are watching are saying the same thing, but you know, there are strategies that you have to put in place, and folks don't always want to do the strategy. They want to be confident, but they're not quite sure how to get that confidence, and it takes work. You've got to kind of work on yourself, and everyone. And that takes time, right? I mean, how much time would you say for someone to dedicate to building self-confidence? You have to set aside half-hour a day, 10 minutes a day. How would you begin to?
What's interesting is if you say to yourself, this presentation is only worth an hour of my time. If you take 5 minutes an hour over the whole day, it will be much more effective than trying to take it all at once. And I usually say to people, memorize the first minute of your presentation so that you know it cold.
Get off to a good start.
So yes, because if you have that kind of confidence and you're on automatic pilot at the most tense time of a presentation, you're going to be much better off because you can just spout those words right off the bat.
And it's easier to recover if you start off good and have a little glitch. It's easier to recover. You start off poorly, it's harder to kind of get the confidence back, right?
Well, you must know this about the rule of ad-libbing. If you make a mistake, don't tell anybody because they won't know it, right?
I do all the time. Here, just keep it going, right? All right, so you're talking about mental toughness, visualization, visualizing what you want to do, talking to yourself in a positive way. Now, concentration, right?
Yes.
We tend to say it as an afterthought, but what is concentration? Why is that so important? Now, how do you concentrate? What are the principles?
Get in the zone, as they say. Because you are so focused on your objective and you're not thinking about all those other things that are going on around you. For example, in the Olympics, do you remember that during the gymnasts, while they were performing, all around them, there were people practicing, moving around, talking, noise. You know, they needed to just stay totally focused.
Or Michael Phelps, when you're swimming and you got 50,000 people in an arena, or just the same boulder.
Cheering, or the tennis players, you know, when they're cheering. Well, for you, that means, first of all, a technique, a tip, is to take a deep breath. Because what happens when you get nervous is that you hold your breath, and then the oxygen that's the fuel for your voice doesn't come out. And so you'll hear people say, hello, my name is Roberta Prescott, you know, and so
the voice is wavering.
Breathe it. You breathe, and that will help you to calm down at the same time that it gives fuel for your voice.
All right, I'm taking a deep breath right now. We've got to go. So we've got to take a deep breath and then come back next time maybe, right?
Absolutely.
All right, Roberta Prescott, our high performance coach. We want to thank all our guests, Corey Brinson and Bilal Sakou. Remember, you can catch our show 24/7, ctnow.com/Stan. Friend us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. For the good folks here at Fox Connecticut, I'm Stan Simpson. The Morning News and Tim Lammers is next.